For a refugee, navigating a new city depends entirely on language. It dictates their ability to use public transit, secure employment, and maintain identity. Many institutions operate on the assumption that integration is a mechanical process. They believe that placing a newcomer in a traditional classroom-style setting is the standard solution for closing the communication gap. The data shows that host country language proficiency is the primary indicator of long-term success. It is the factor that enables an isolated newcomer to become a participating, economically active citizen. However, the legacy classroom model is often poorly suited for these students. It relies on a one-size-fits-all curriculum, built on grammar drills and textbooks, frequently detached from their immediate needs. These environments rarely account for the specific reality of displacement. A rigid classroom setting does not address the impact of trauma, the shock of a new culture, or the limited resources that define the refugee experience. Treating language like an assembly line of vocabulary lists may yield high test scores, but fails to build communicative competence. When these rigid inputs collide with trauma and cultural barriers, the educational process halts. Lessons never translate into tools for daily survival. These methods isolate the learner when the curriculum fails to resonate. Addressing the needs of displaced populations requires a structural shift in how we approach language instruction. Modern pedagogical innovations are moving away from the isolated classroom. These models prioritize community-integrated learning, embedding instruction directly into local, informal settings. The New Neighbor Initiative demonstrates this by bypassing formal schooling altogether. The program pairs local volunteers with newly arrived families for personalized tutoring and direct cultural orientation. The outcomes are measurable. Participants show rapid improvements in language proficiency and higher social confidence when learning is supported by their community. Technology provides a second pillar for this evolution. Specialized mobile apps for refugee youth offer gamified lessons that can be accessed anywhere. This bypasses the geographic and schedule-based barriers that often prevent refugees from attending traditional classes. Combining digital tools with community networking changes the nature of language acquisition. It becomes a continuous daily ecosystem rather than a scheduled high-stress chore. Experiential learning replaces passive study with active engagement. Multimodal environments require learners to physically interact with their surroundings to solve problems and communicate. In the refugee cooking class language exchange, the kitchen serves as the classroom. Navigating a recipe alongside others forces authentic, high-stakes communication, where language is used as a tool for immediate collaboration. This approach extends to validating the student's background. Heritage language programs prioritize a refugee child's native language and cultural identity as they transition into the host country's educational system. This data maps native language retention against the speed of host language acquisition. The results show a strong positive correlation. Maintaining a child's native identity directly supports their ability to master a new language. The evidence indicates that utilizing a learner's cultural past provides a stabilizing foundation for their integration into a new society. There is a clear path from rote memorization to effective community-driven ecosystems like digital learning and neighborhood exchange programs. However, these successes face a problem at scale. Many of these grassroots programs operate on shoestring budgets and rely almost entirely on the availability of volunteers. This heat map reveals the disparity in access. While some innovation hubs are thriving, they are surrounded by under-resourced dead zones. Many refugees lack the basic technological infrastructure needed to participate in these new digital learning models. Without structural scale, these innovations remain localized. Expanding these results requires commitment from governments and large-scale institutions. Scaling these programs requires formal funding partnerships. Governments and NGOs must coordinate to provide the financial support necessary to turn community-led initiatives into permanent resources. Institutional changes are also necessary. Language educators must be trained in trauma-informed and culturally responsive methodologies to effectively support displaced populations. Policy must address the digital divide. Subsidizing platforms and devices ensures that the most vulnerable populations have the same access to learning tools as those in well-funded hubs. Effective language education determines the long-term success of displaced populations. When rooted in the community, it provides the tools for an immigrant to transition from basic survival to meaningful participation in their new home.